Always have so much stuff. They always have so much.
Well, yeah, that's why I love some of my stuff there.
I got a little surprise.
Where did your park at? Up front or out back?
Okay.
I got some beer sliding in my truck.
I'll give up front.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ring the Christmas bell.
I'm up front.
Christmas spirit.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the December 10th Elkhart Community Schools Public Work Session. At this time, I'll call the Public Work Session to order.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, community. Tonight, as we have talked about pretty much this whole school year, we're here to give our update on where we are with our sixth grade transition. I'm really excited to share all the progress that the community, that our community chairs have done over these these last few months. They've done an outstanding job of making sure that we are not only on target, but they have been very thoughtful and intentional regarding on how we are making sure that this transition is going to be successful for our students. I'm excited for you to hear from each one of our committee chairs this evening on the various topics and the various committees and where they are with their work. And so tonight, the goal is to give our community an update on the progress and the work that's still yet to come and some things that are up for consideration. So board, as you hear information from each of the community chairs, I want to make sure that they're answering any questions that you may have. And again, some things are still in a developing phase, and they'll probably tell you that tonight during their presentation. So you'll hear them in order. And our first one who's going to come up tonight, if Jake, if you want to advance the slide, will be from our staffing committee, and that is led by our Human Resources Officer, Maggie Lozano.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. I am here to share a bit about where we are with the staffing committee. The staffing committee has been meeting since mid-October. And as part of the committee, we have been charged with identifying selection process that's going to be fair and transparent for the staff. In addition to identifying criteria and a staff selection process, we've also been focusing on the licensure requirement. So that has also been a primary focus of this committee. The committee has been carefully reviewing the qualifications for teaching sixth grade at the middle school level. And as we're looking at those qualifications and requirements, also looking for additional needs for licensure for those that would need that additional support to meet that requirement. There's been conversations about how the district will be able to support that need, as well as to that could include the guidance on how to go about requiring or acquiring that criteria to obtain the licensure. So those supports will also be in place. As the committee continues to meet, some of the progress areas they were looking at also is ensuring that we're communicating what is being discussed during the committee meetings. And as we all know, communication is one of those key factors to navigate such changes as these. And to address some of those areas of communication, the committee has also been working diligently in putting together a very comprehensive Q&A document based on the questions that have arisen so far regarding staffing. And so the committee is working on addressing those questions so that we can have a document that we can provide to staff to provide information as we know it. In addition to that, feedback is also very important for this committee. And to that end, we sent out an initial survey to the teaching staff at the elementary level and middle school level to gauge interest and also whether or not their preferences and assignments. The feedback that we receive has been very helpful and informational because it's helping the committee guide some of the decisions as we look how assignments and placements are going to be made. Once the selection criteria is finalized and the process is ready to be communicated, that information will go out to staff so they're aware as to what that criteria is going to look like. Because once we're ready to make assignments, we want to make sure that all that is communicated to staff in a timely manner. The goal for the committee to send out notification for staff on their assignments is by the end of March, so that all staff that's going to be impacted is aware of what that assignment is going to look like. Part of that process also entails making sure that the staff, once they are aware of their assignment, is comfortable with the assignment. So the district will be offering opportunities to those staff to be able to visit the middle schools where they'll be assigned and get an opportunity to visit the building, the staff there, and also just to get an idea of the space. That way they can start preparing for that transition. And the whole goal for the committee, again, as we continue to dive into some of these focuses, and these have been the focuses that we have had since we started meeting, is to ensure that we are providing an open dialogue and provide the information to staff as we know it so that they are feeling supported throughout this process. And at this moment, that is where the staffing committee currently stands. Any questions that I may help answer? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lozano. Up next, we will have our Transportation Director, Brandon Berger, who will give an update on where we are with our transportation processes and improvements for the middle school transition. And I will call up Brandon Berger.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board and the community, Dr. Huff. I thank you for the opportunity to present this evening on the sixth grade transition to transportation update. So what the committee's been working on right now is partnering with our current routing company, which is TransFinder, to find routing efficiencies. And with that partnership, TransFinder will reroute the entire district to include the middle school student transition. And with that work, we've tasked our head router in the transportation department. She's working on some transitional routing within our own system. And once we have what TransFinder puts together and what we put together, we will compare and contrast those to see what best fits the district. The timeline for the middle school transition routing is tentatively scheduled to be complete by the end of January 2025. And what we've communicated with our routing software company is that we would like to have that work to be completed by January 24th of 2025. And then at the end, our goal is to reduce our average ride time and to decrease our walking zones. So that's what we have for our transportation update. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Get the information from TransFinder. How long does it take to, combine, the information and data and come up with the routes?
Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Once we have what they have and what we have put together, we can kind of quickly go through that. So I'm assuming maybe 2-3 weeks, I hope.
Brandon, do you have any current targets that you're working with in the reduction of ride time and the decrease of distance for the walk zones? Do you have anything that you're going for in those two areas?
Well, we're trying to get down to 1.5 miles if we can without creating any more routes than what we have. And then what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Reduction in average ride time.
Oh, average ride time. Yes. We are working at trying to get that to be 1 hour or less if we can.
And where are we currently on that?
We do have few routes that are a little over 1 hour, but with the whole work that TransFinder is doing, we're trying to hone that back as best we can. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. I do want to follow up with one other thing that I think is important for the community to know regarding transportation. We are looking at a mile, not 1.5 miles. And also one of the things that We're also looking at our route efficiencies. Currently, right now, we have 93 routes in our district, but they're not all being currently utilized effectively. I think that's probably not a secret to our community or to our board. And so with those efficiencies, by making sure that we're going over every student who will opt into routing next year. That will be a major change when we go through the registration processes. We won't be rerouting every child like we historically have done. That families will have to choose to select to go into bus routing. I think that will help us to increase our efficiencies. Right now, we have over 11,000 kids who are routed on these bus routes, which is causing them to be that extended time when when it shouldn't be that way. So I think Mr. Blyler, you'll see a dramatic decrease because we'll have if 7,000 kids sign up for transportation next year, we'll have 7,000 kids who are routed. And so I think that alone will help to decrease. And also, again, the reduction in routes. We have buses going everywhere across our district. And by having exact numbers of students who should be riding the bus, we'll see greater efficiency. So I know Mr. Berger gave a 30,000 overview. I thought I needed to bring that down just a little bit to give some a little bit more clarity to his presentation.
Thank you for that additional detail.
No problem. I will answer any questions. Yeah.
So marketing wise for that, since it's brand new, that they'll actually be having to choose to route. So they'll have to actually pick that button. I was saving you some time, girl. Saving you some time. Yeah. I still will assure you that I'm loud enough that I don't need it, but it's good. Do you feel like we need to just start pounding on the marketing and the communication for that, like flyers to elementary kids, something to junior high, not just flashing up on their iPads? I mean, we're going to really have to do all calls and everything just over and over again to get the parents to understand, like, we need this to happen. It can't be something that is an oversight. In order for this to be efficient, to get to a 1 mile, like maybe you even talk about it on the news and it gets out there that we can share it, and it's a message that Aaron puts out, because this is something that they need to understand. We must have their participation in this for it to be highly effective.
That was a wonderful, everything you just said, it would be everything that we would share with the community. And actually, Mrs. Brander is going to talk a little bit about that during the student support process, because that will be a dramatic change for our community this year. And having Parent Square will also help us to blast out that information. And I don't want to put her on the spot, but I don't think they'll be able even to move along in the application process without going and making that choice. So it will be a forced field where they'll have to actually slide and opt into transportation. Is that correct?
That is correct. Awesome.
I love not making things up on the fly, but that is correct. That is correct. So that will be a big change for the community. So everything that you said, we are definitely taking that into consideration. Right. And so we look forward to updating you each month on the progress. We're looking at February 1st, tentatively, where families can start that registration process will be open. So I won't steal all Mrs. Brander's thunder, but she will share more about that.
Just quickly, if you have a if you have a parent that's in a district, but they want to go to another school, does that need to happen before January 25th to get approved? Or how will that happen if you want to have the parent choosing the bus route and everything happening by February 4th?
We will have plenty of time. That's when the process opens. Okay. It's not, it doesn't have to be done by that point. That's when that process opens. And Mrs. Brander will go into what that looks like for transfers. And I will just be clear, we have not changed any of our transfer policies as of yet. So again, she will go deeper into that part of her presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Well, one of our next up, we all like to talk about finances and how this will impact. We know that there are going to be some financial costs, but also some financial savings with this transition. And I would like to invite up our CFO, Zach Quiet, to give an update to the board. Mr. Quiet.
Thank you, Dr. Huff, President Scott, School Board of Trustees, and community. We're excited about the work that we're doing on this budget committee. I think it's very important that we're able to communicate and articulate to our community what these reinvestment can be in this sixth grade transition. And so you'll see that strategic reinvestment portion. We're starting to capture opportunities where you see light savings as we upgrade the lighting through the district, optimize space utilization, those sorts of things, trying to put numbers to those so we can share how that's important and why these decisions are really helping us move in the direction of providing outstanding programming to our students, both at the elementary and at the secondary level. I I would point out that energy and space utilization, and then you have the transportation. Those are probably going to affect more of our operations fund, right? Where things like staff realignment and shared resources, you'll see some impact in the education fund. And as we move over to the tax neutrality piece, part of the strategy that the board has had is to target that tax rate. I think it's important the community knows that that tax rate will remain the same. They're going to see a lot of upgrades to both our middle schools and our elementary schools. And we're doing that by maintaining that tax rate that we've always promised the community of that 91.92 rounded up cents. And so we think that's very important to make sure that the community understands that we're not asking for extra support. We're doing this within our means. And then also the budget monitoring. We're working with the other groups right now to try to get an idea of the moves that they're making and how that will affect us short term and also long term moving forward, so that we can start to put those into projections and forecasts, and making sure that we can sustain these sorts of things long term. So those are really the three focuses that we've been investing some energy in. We're excited to hear as more progresses and put some more meat to some of these topics. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
The timetable on when the other committees are going to have information to us so we can really start doing more of a deep dive and do some fiscal planning out for this project?
Yeah, I think so. That's been sent out. I've fielded some questions. We've started to get a little bit of data back. I think some of it is hinging on as some dominoes fall and more information is known as to kind of what the long-term impact of some of these will be. And so we're hoping that early next year, we'll probably send a date out to kind of say, hey, can we get some more information? But right now it's really just kind of, getting a feel for it, right? In terms of what the different committees are thinking of. Some of them are short-term, we need t-shirts and food for different events, and some of them are long-term impacts. And so being able to at least capture those and start to organize them in a meaningful way. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
You.
Good job. Quite appreciate it. Next up, very important piece, critical piece. We all know that this transition is going to have a major impact on the instructional opportunities for our students. The goal for moving the kids from elementary school to the 6th grade is to make sure that they have outstanding learning opportunities. So I'm very excited to have Dr. Roush, who is chairing this committee, talk about some of the things that the instructional committee has focused on during this transition and where they are so far.
President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. This is a very important committee. We've been tasked to create a schedule that meets the educational needs of 6th grade students while maintaining a traditional schedule for the 7th and 8th grade middle school. We know that this schedule is really driving many other decisions. And so we are very close. We've been working very, very hard to maintain as close as possible, especially that 6th grade piece, in ensuring that that instructional time is similar to what they're receiving as 6th graders. And again, we're very close. And the amount of work that's been put into this, I'm just incredibly pleased because we do want to make sure that this is done right. And this leads into my next committee. You want to introduce it or?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
can I ask a quick question on the
Yeah,
instruction
sorry.
piece before you jump to the next committee? What's been the biggest challenge in it maybe multifaceted, but
Sure.
generally, what's kind of been the biggest challenge with this?
Scheduling is definitely a puzzle, and making sure that all the electives fit with the 6th grade schedule, and ensuring that we're maintaining the integrity of the 7th and 8th grade schedule. And then for the next committee that I chaired was the arts. And so now making sure that band, choir, and orchestra will fit into,
Sure.
So it takes a lot of
cooks in the kitchen to make it all work. And I think, like I said, we're very close, and I feel very good with the product. So,
Thank you.
but yeah, that's a great question. But we will need. Go ahead.
Sorry, Doctor.
No, no,
Playing a
no.
little just to add, Mr. Scott, one of the things that's also very, the reason why this schedule is not finalized at this point, one of the things that I've seen at the middle school in we've lacked math and science teachers at our middle school. I think to have credibility during this transition is that you want to make sure that our students are going into middle school and are going to have access to high quality math and science teachers. We're already seeing some of that data play out in secondary for those students who did not have those opportunities. So scheduling is key. And you have to play with different schedules to make sure that those kids who are going to be really moving up a year are now fifth graders, who will be our outstanding sixth graders in middle school, have something as similar to what they had in elementary school. It's 60 minutes is required in elementary school. In middle school, we want to make sure that they are getting at least what they had as a transition. So that has not been, there's been no final recommendation, but we, again, I think to Dr. Roush's point, she's trying to be very, very strategic, but also looking at the resources that we have to make sure that that works. I will be making some future recommendations to the board on how to address that issue at the middle school for the math and science teachers. I believe, again, that is playing a critical part in that. And so in January, I think the goal is to have this hopefully finalized by the end of December. We'll be able to come back to you in January, but hey, this is what the middle school day will look like. That last piece, I think, is one that we're really trying to hammer home before we make a formal presentation to the board. So that part has been challenging, trying to grapple with something that's been going on for years to try to do it in 2 months. I think that would have been unrealistic to give that to the board. This is definitely how we're going to do that without those other further recommendations to the board. Does that make sense to share with you? All right. Sorry, Dr. Rush.
No, thank you.
All right.
So if you want to go to the next slide. The Arts Committee, as I mentioned earlier, band choir and orchestra will continue in grades 6 or 8, and we're hoping that now that the 6th grade is housed in the middle schools, that those numbers will grow. And then the other electives that we're looking at will continue with art, PE, computer science, college and careers, and health. And so again, kind of going back to your question, President Scott, just making sure everything fits. And, that puzzle is complete. So, but we're feeling very good about it. So, and we're feeling good about the electives as well. Any questions about the arts?
Thank you.
Yep. Did you? Yeah.
She's still up. She's still up. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to introduce the athletics. Okay, sorry. All right, can you go to the next slide, please? Athletics is another important committee as well. The current structure, and I'm still learning this as I'm new to Elkhart Community Schools. We are currently in the Big 11 Conference, and currently, as you can see, boys, we offer currently cross-country, soccer, football, basketball, volleyball, swimming, wrestling, track and field, golf, and tennis. And then the girls' sports, cross-country, cheer, soccer, volleyball, basketball, swimming, wrestling, track and field, golf, and tennis. The high school, middle school, and elementary athletic directors have done a great job. Really, they didn't just start this, a couple months ago. I think this has been in the works and a really good thought process for a number of months to make sure that they create 6th grade team sports in soccer, volleyball, football, basketball, track, and cheer for the 6th grade, because currently the 6th grade and they will continue to be part of the 7th and 8th grade cross country, swimming, wrestling, golf, and tennis. And so I'm just very impressed with the work that the athletic directors have put together to ensure that this is a nice, easy transition for 6th grade to be at the middle schools. And again, I think our numbers will increase once 6th grade is housed in each of the middle schools. Any questions about athletics?
So with sixth grade, with the teams that currently, sixth graders who cannot participate in Big 11, those sports. So when it says create sixth grade team sports, is that like more of an intramural program with the middle schools? Or is it that the conference is looking at adding, or we're going to start playing other schools? What does that
Yes.
look like? Because now
I'm going to
fifth-
have
fifth
Mr.
and sixth
Buckley.
grade is basically intramurals within our own school district. So what does it look like for sixth graders who don't have the Big 11 umbrella for their sports? If that
Mr.
makes
Buckley.
any sense.
Hi, I'm Brian Buckley. I'm in the athletic department. Mr. Scott, Dr. Huff, board, thank you for allowing me to be here and help support these questions tonight. We just came out of a meeting where we had a very productive meeting, and we feel like we're on very solid ground moving forward with our sixth grade sports. So to answer your question about team sports, each sport will look a little different moving forward. This is our chance to reset and to do something even better for our sixth grade. So is there a specific sport you'd like to know about? Because they're all going to look slightly different. So let's just start with football. So we would like to introduce tackle football to sixth grade. So we would like to implement a program that will handle up to 4 football teams at sixth grade. They would practice in a unified structure at a like location. So they're all getting the same instruction with the same equipment, learning from the same coaches. Then we would take a little bit of a different look, and we would play what is currently called the EYFL schedule. So we would play teams like Wawasee, teams from Granger, teams from Bago, and we would play those games on Saturdays, which is a structure that's already in place for that age group. That would also be the same time that our cheer teams would cheer. So they would get to go, so they wouldn't lose anything at the sixth grade as we continue to try to promote all of our sports in that fashion, cheerleading, so that they're ready for the seventh grade, tackle football so that they're ready for the seventh grade. And then if you pick another sport, let's look at soccer. So we interviewed our soccer coaches. We interviewed several players. We tried to come up with a plan that would best utilize our soccer group. What's going to benefit them? So again, we want to use an area like we'll use girls soccer. So all the girls soccer sixth graders will train together at the freshman division on the JV field. So they're getting the same instruction. They will train and skill for 45 minutes and then play 7v7 for 45 minutes, which we hear back from our soccer coaches that this is one of the best training tools available, and the kids love it. What that will hopefully do in sixth grade, we've spoken with the Flames. We're trying to help the Flames get rolling more, which is a club team. So they would see this in the spring, so that in the summer, these sixth graders could then hopefully go and try out for travel teams or club teams for soccer. So I don't want to take up all the time, but we have a plan for each sport similar to that. I want to quickly touch on basketball because I know basketball is a hot topic. So basketball, we're looking at a program, Club One. You're familiar with Club One. It's been around for a while. So we're trying to come up with a footprint that we could utilize Club One to help benefit ourselves. So what we would do is, once again, we would have, depending on participation, we could have 3 to 6 teams in the sixth grade boys. They train together, they work together, they practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with a coach. But then on Sundays is when they would get their competition with Club One. The first year, we'll have some expense we have to put in this. Sorry, had a couple of, but after the first year, we would then we would start hosting at least half of those events so that we can self-support those programs. So we'd host Club One on Sundays, put that money right back into our teams that we're putting into to participate. So I don't have a standard answer to give you for each team because we're trying to do what's best for each group and still give our sixth graders a better head start so that we can support our seventh and eighth grade teams and get those numbers up. So
there are a number of school teams in Club One, and one of the benefits is, you can play in Club One and you could have a team where there's kids from all different kinds of schools. The nice thing about having a school team in Club One is these kids will start playing together in sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, learn the same offense, learn the same defense, be coached the same way. So when they get to high school, they're going to know, the offensive structure, defensive structure. They're going to know their teammates. So
Sir.
I like that plan.
That
Thanks.
carry down to like the 5th grade and into the elementary?
Great
Because-
question.
Yeah, because like,
Can I
we're
talk about
talking about like
elementary a
Club
little bit?
One, we're talking about all of this, but
Okay.
like ultimately, we want ownership
Okay.
over our own youth groups. We want that. Not, I mean, I love growing the flames. I love having Club One, but we should naturally have our own youth group.
Yes. And at a very high level, we haven't gotten into 5th and 4th grade yet, but those are apps. What we're hoping to do is continue with a similar program that we have now, but to add those extra benefits to the 5th and 4th grade. We just don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We want to do what we're doing really well first
Right.
and then carry down.
Yeah. Well, it's important to share with them that, hey, we're not like looking away from you, but we're
Right.
trying to create like a youth program that we should have established that should be growing anyway. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Just know, again, this, as Dr. Huff stated earlier, these are still developing committees as well. So we are still working. Thank you.
Good job, Dr. Roush, Mr. Buckley. Athletics is a huge draw for our community and for our students, and I'm very proud of the amount of students that we have participating at the elementary level. We definitely want to see growth at the middle school level, and I think to add to Mr. Scott's point, what they're really trying to do is make sure that our kids grow with each other and have consistent coaching throughout. I think ultimately the high school benefits when we have sound middle school teaching and athletic experiences. So I do want to say hats off to them. Clearly they've been thinking about this for years. So they're a little bit ahead of the game.
In my head, Club One and the Flames, I don't want our talent at a young age to be noticed by another school. I want our talent to stay right inside of our own school system. So that's why I was talking about the importance of the youth program in our school, because our talent stays here.
Yes, ma'am. Completely agree. Next slide. Student support. So I think Ms. Mullins and Ms. Branders are going to come up and talk about all the ways that we're going to support our kiddos through this transition. We know we've talked a lot about the academics. We talked a lot about athletics, but how we support them through this transition, because we know we're going to have younger students moving over, I think is important. And this is also an area of strength for Elkhart. I'm looking forward to tonight actually honoring one of our staff members for an outstanding award that they received from the IDOE. And actually we have another one as well who also received some major recognitions, who will be a part of this support committee. So again, without stealing her thunder, I'm going to bring up our Director of Student Services, Lindsay Brander.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. Board President Scott, members of the board, community. I'm presenting tonight on our Student Supports Committee. Like Dr. Huff mentioned, the purpose of this committee really is ensuring that we have appropriate supports in place for a smooth transition for our incoming 6th grade students and to support the staff that will be providing supports to those students. One of the initiatives that we have done is provide a survey for our 3rd through 6th grade teachers and middle school teachers, just to gather feedback on resources and supports they would need to ensure a smooth transition for the students and staff. The survey closed on Friday, and we will be looking at the information and providing recommendations to the leadership team on possible additional supports that will be needed. As Dr. Huff mentioned, I apologize. I have my notes on my phone. I think I've reached the age where I need large print on a piece of paper. So as Dr. Huff mentioned, there will be some changes to the registration process. Most notably, registration will open February 1st. Parents will need to go in and complete returning student registration and select transportation to receive transportation, just to ensure that we are providing accurate numbers for staffing and ensuring routing efficiencies, and then ensuring that we have accurate student count for other initiatives that we use that information for prior to the first day of school in 25-26. Also, we will have new student, we will have transfer requests the transfer application will also be embedded into the new student or to the returning student registration. Parents will need to go in, complete returning student registration, and then they can request a transfer through that process. Previously, parents would call into student services, and so we would receive between 500, 700 calls during the summer or during the application time that it was open. This is a lot more efficient, and it ensures that we have accurate and updated information on emergency contacts and things like that for students.
So that's the internal transfer.
That is
Process.
internal and external, correct?
Oh, and external.
But for students who are coming to our district, they complete new student registration because they would be new to our school district.
Is there a deadline for internal transfers that they have to decide if they want to transfer, that they have to have that request in before a specific deadline? So we're not getting transfer requests in July, August.
Yes, it's not set in stone, but the hope is to open it from February 1st to May 1st. And then that would give us time to ensure we have adequate staffing, that we're not adding more students than we can support in a classroom at any given building. And then that we are also notifying parents in a timely manner so that if they need to shift plans, they can. And as part of supporting this new process, we are going to provide registration nights in the spring. They'll be held at each school building. We'll provide available supports, technology and registration assistance. We will also have access to community services at these events. This will also provide opportunities for families to come in and tour the buildings. We want to also provide a one-stop shop for families to ask questions about transportation. If they have transfer questions, assist them with the registration process, athletics, and any other questions they have related to student enrollment. I think that's all my notes. Are there any questions that I can answer regarding this process? To answer your question earlier, you didn't ask it, and I can feel the ask.
Yeah, she didn't even ask a question.
She didn't, but
Because I feel like, it's fine.
yeah, we're telepathic. It's okay.
Yeah.
We already have sat down and we've put a registration project plan into place, and that includes meeting with the communications team to come up with a communications plan to ensure that we are communicating to families as quickly as possible the changes in the process. We have met with the tech team to make sure that it is a very streamlined process and it's easy to access for parents. And I'm meeting tomorrow with one of the tech team members to go through what are all the issues that a parent could have when trying to register a student, and then how can we either mitigate that, prevent it from happening, or provide support for the families when they have that issue. And then we're also meeting with transportation to make sure that we're giving them the information they need to route students appropriately.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's like, you hate to think in your head, I have to say it or act it like 10 or 15 different times.
Yes.
But I think this will be one of those situations where it's not natural.
Yeah.
And they'll wait to the last minute. And so if we can really hit it so quickly, then it's right there, like the biggest, boldest letters ever.
Yes.
And I didn't ask it because I didn't know if like you were like coming in next with Aaron or what. So I was just sitting here going, all right, but yeah, I just like, I can hear it. I can see it on that awful Facebook page. Nobody told me that I had to register.
Yes.
So I'm like,
They will hear it. They will hear it loud and clear. And additionally, another area where we can really rely heavily on the relationship that our building administrators and secretaries and teachers have with families is that at some point we will be working with our buildings to reach out to those families that have not logged in, because we can track that. So, doing home visits if necessary or providing additional supports that way. Okay.
I just want to make a quick make a quick comment. I think when you said you're having registration at each of the buildings, I think that's really important, because one of the things we want to make sure we do is have touch points and the more touch points we can have with parents and their children, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud that idea to have each school have their own registration night.
And I'm just glad that everybody witnessed a nonverbal question, because it happens in executive session. So
See it?
clearly they should know what I'm thinking.
Yes. We try.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good job, Mrs. Brander. I think sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Jake, can you save me? One of the things too that I think we need to think about during this transition, particularly for this cohort of kids who are coming over, there will be a dedicated counselor that will follow those kids along to make sure that they are where they need to be from an academic point of view, from a student support point of view, their experience point of view. I think that's great feedback for us as we go about this transition, but I also think that tells the community that we've also thought of those other things along the way that are maybe that won't show up in like in an academic playbook or in instruction. So our guidance counselors are going to play a very key role in this. And so by adding that additional support there, I think that would be helpful as well. So next up, we also have our communications committee. Mrs. Wagler hasn't led that committee, so she's going to share their work and the work that we have done so far and some things that we still need to continue to make sure this is a great experience for our families.
Thank you, Dr. Huff, President Scott, members of the board and the community. So our focus continues to be on providing engagement with the community and also providing clarity in the information and messaging that is shared throughout this entire process. So I want to first start with the middle school tours. We wanted to make sure that we created a cohesive message that was consistent and being shared consistently with each of the middle schools as they went across the tours. Part of that was signage. We did banners in front of each of the schools, welcoming the students so that they, as they entered, they were able to feel that sense of home and that welcome. We also did branded swag. We did some pencils, and then also the interactive worksheets that you see up there. Because we had fifth graders that were coming in, we wanted to make sure that they were also being engaged as they walked through the tours and they were thinking through possible questions and listening to what was shared by the eighth graders who were conducting the tours. And so each of the middle schools had the same scavenger hunt and that consistent messaging there. In addition, we, the communications team, went and collected photos and videos during each of the tours so that we can use those in the future for marketing purposes and to showcase the excellence within our district. Next, marketing materials. We've also sent out letters to the families. For the tours, we sent letters out in advance so that the families were aware of what was happening within the tours, what each of the categories that the students would be able to talk about. They would learn about their principal, they would get to meet the counselors, learn about extracurricular activities, all of that information. Then we also provided letters to staff as well, so that the staff, even those who are not in 5th and 6th grade, so that they are aware of what's going on in the transition throughout the process. So continuing that, we have been doing bi-weekly staff updates. Those updates have been not only about the transition, but then we've also been sharing highlights around the district as well, just to remind everybody of all of the wonderful things that are going on throughout the entire district. And then we've been doing monthly parent updates about the transition itself so that they are aware of what we've done, excuse me, what the timeline is, and then what we're going to be doing in the future. Community engagement. So part of what our committee does each time we get together is, and especially the first time, because the first time we got together was right after the parent forums, but we evaluated the feedback from the community, and it was important for us because it is so diverse. Our communications committee is so diverse. We have teachers, we have principals, we have athletics and music. We wanted to hear what they're hearing, and that helped us be able to craft our messages. When we did the frequently asked questions on the website, we were able to craft those messages accordingly based on both the questions that the community was asking and then also some of the concerns that they were hearing. Those FAQs, we monitor them every week. Every Friday, we update them if we have anything that needs updated. They are also being translated into Spanish so that we can do that as well. Looking forward, we are prioritizing doing video content. Our committee has identified both a potential shot list of what videos that we need to collect, what kind of B-roll background that would support a video, and then each of our committee members have also pinpointed key stakeholders that could provide testimonials. And those stakeholders could be students, families, staff, who have already been through a district transition or ones who are currently going through the transition, but that their testimonial will reflect the district values and achievements. And so we want it to be parent to parent, student to student, and providing those testimonials to make a smoother transition. So in summary, we're just going to keep creating consistent and strategic messaging that showcases the strengths of the district and highlighting all of the benefits of the sixth grade transition. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What type of engagement have we gotten from the community, parents, as far as feedback? Frequently asked, the questions on the site. Is it a large amount? Is it?
No, we got a lot for the parent forums, and the FAQ is based mainly on the parent forums. We haven't really gotten much after that. We also monitor social media. It's been very smooth. Knock on wood.
Right.
So we've had a few questions. Some of the questions that we're getting are about specific students in a specific situation, wanting to know how their specific student, how that situation would play out. And some of those answers, as you've been hearing tonight, are still to be determined. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Did you get any feedback from the tours as far as, what kids' thoughts were, what parents' comments were shared with them and with other teachers or teacher feedback from the tours that happened with those children?
We have been from our department, and that's something where Dr. Roush's committee, and they created the tours and oversaw those. So that's something that we need to collaborate on and get together to find out answers. Some of the, and this is soft research, but some of the things that we were hearing the 5th and 6th graders saying was how surprised they were at how nice the older kids were to them when they came, that they were really nervous coming. And especially the 8th graders that were giving the tours, they were very, very pleased. And I think that they felt very grown up, that the older kids paid attention to them. And so what we heard when we were there, because we were taking the pictures, was very positive from the kids.
We touched on it 2 weeks ago, if you remember. We kind of touched on it at the very end of our meeting, discussing that about how pleasant it was and, personal experience. Like I shared 2 weeks ago, we could go backtrack to that of having, I think I called them a gaggle of kids at my house that would be going to all 3 of the junior high schools. And that was really what they expressed, was that the experience was really good. They were excited, very nervous, but they felt very calm about it. And I think this scavenger hunt, I'd love to get a print of that, because I would love to hand it off to them when they're all over at my house on a Friday and be like, what do you remember from this? Because I think that's interesting. And maybe perhaps even asking the 6th grade teachers if they could have the kids just do a small brief summary that you could read over and maybe pull some of that information, and see how excited they were. But it seemed to go pretty well. And talking to some parents, they were happy I shared with you that most people were wondering why it's taken us so long.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anything else?
Nice.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagler. One of the things that too, I just want to really echo how proud I am of the administrators team that are here, but also all the administrators who are participating on the committee and our teachers and our feedback from our ETA. If we really look at this in context, the board gave us authorization to start this work on September 24th. It is only December 10th, and all the things that they've accomplished in a little less than 3 months. If you would have said that 3 months ago, I would have said, okay, I feel that's very ambitious. Now I feel like we are a little bit, we're at where we need to be, and it wouldn't be without the expertise of everyone who is coming to speak, and also everyone who has given up countless hours of their time to participate on these committees. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping those things in context. They've done a wonderful job in setting us up for success for the second semester. One area of opportunity, I think, too, for the communications piece is that we need to make sure that we are very intentional about reaching out to our Hispanic students and during that time as well, particularly when it comes to our registration. So making sure materials are also presented and not only in English, but also in Spanish. So as we redo our registration information, that will also be done. So I think I know what I asked her. I asked Mrs. Wagler, as we redesign our website, they'll be able to toggle between languages. So they're able to successfully complete that as well. And then we're also, that video content piece is important. So we can also model for our families who, some people just need that video, like just show me where I need to go so I can get this done. A lot of our stuff is very wordy. And so if you can give me a quick 1-minute video, what I need to do, and that'll be great. And we're going to be doing that in the second semester as well. So I just want to say hats off to the communications team. They've done a wonderful job of getting the word out to our community. I look forward to what they have to do in the second semester. So again, if you think about it, less than 3 months, we're here, and this is great for our community to witness. So next up, our facilities update. Our COO, Tony Giannessi, is here to give you a facilities update. He's going to tell you about all the things that we've done to upgrade the facilities and get them ready for our kids to come on over. So Mr. Giannessi, would you like to speak with the board?
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, and members of the community. We began our work in the committee by identifying areas that we needed a design professional to help us with, either based upon the cost or the complexity. So the first one was restroom renovations for ADA compliance. So with that work, we decided to engage the services of J Lake Architecture. I believe most of you are familiar with Jamie Lake. He and his team are working very hard on restroom renovations. And then also they're working very hard on renovation of some large group rooms that will help provide that. Through that renovation, that will help provide additional classrooms for each building. So right now we have identified 2 additional classrooms that will be added to those buildings, to each building with that work. In terms of general miscellaneous improvements and updates, we identified the need for new carpet, new paint, new lighting, new ceilings, and new lockers throughout the buildings. So we have a plan to provide each of those throughout those buildings. We also are looking at upgrades to the kitchen serving lines and the cafeteria furniture. Those will be needed to accommodate the additional students as well. And that work is being done internally by our staff. As far as technology, there are 2 components to the technology work that we're doing. The first you see on the board, which are the addition of outdoor signs at Northside and Pierre Moran. Westside already has one. New PA systems at Northside and Westside. Pierre Moran received a new PA system last year. Enhanced security, which includes the addition of security cameras and upgraded door card access readers. And all of that work is scheduled to be completed by December 31st. And talking with Mr. Inman earlier today, we are right on schedule to have that done. In terms of timeline, the design work by Jay Lake and his team has already begun, and we expect that work to be complete so that we can release those items for bid in late January, come to the board with a recommendation for award in late February, and begin work in early March. The additional work in the general miscellaneous categories, we continue to work on identifying those items. We have some work to do to identify colors and the actual lights that we're going to use. To Mr. Quiet's point earlier, we are identifying LED lights for these buildings. These buildings still have the original T12 fixtures that were put in 1988. So we expect a cost reduction, a use reduction of 65% when we replace these lights. And that will be throughout the district with any T12 fixture that we look at replacing. And we are looking at that again throughout the district in many, many different buildings, but focusing on the middle schools at this point. That work is scheduled to begin in early February, and all work that we've discussed up here will be completed by August, start of school in August. Any questions?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'll come to the microphone. Is there anything that you see, Mr. Giannessi, that could curtail this work? I know there's lots of variables, but what is your one big concern with?
My big
Yes,
concern,
I know the answer, but I want to make sure that we tell the community that as well.
my big concern that I've shared with Dr. Huff and Mr. Quiet over the last couple of days is the availability of manpower. The Amazon and General Motors, I believe, facilities in South Bend are, for lack of a better term, eating up the labor force. Griffin Plumbing and Heating, which is local, we doing a lot of work with them. for lack of a better way of putting it. We do a lot of work with them. In the last month, they have lost 10 plumbers and pipe fitters alone to that job. They're paying $10 over union scale. They're paying per diems per day. And I've heard of electricians grossing $4,000 a week. So that is my biggest concern, is having the manpower to get these projects done.
But, you know, in your infinite wisdom, you also have a solution as well. What was one of your recommendations?
So one of my recommendations is that we have a lot of very talented people that work for us. And so we would self-perform some of the work. We wouldn't be able to do it all, because these folks are our maintenance, our plumber, our electrician, our HVAC tech. They have full-time jobs taking care of the district. But we are looking at, and Mr. Quiet and I talked about this afternoon, so we're going to put together a formal recommendation of utilizing our internal staff to complete as much of the work as possible. I would just add, the other concern I have, sorry, sorry, Dr. Huff, is that ever since the recession, so going back to as recently as 2014, but then getting COVID, and even more recently, there has been question about how easy or how quickly we can get materials. So that is the other concern, but that's why we're working as quickly as possible to get these things, hopefully the things that are long lead items, identified and set in motion by the end of this month.
Also, I have a question. PA systems at the north side, are you going to address anything with the north side gym?
So Northside Gym is a separate issue from the PA system that we have shown up there. However, we are looking at that as another project.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I hear you say when we come to you for that recommendation, I should expect a yes.
Northside Gym?
Yes.
If we do it north side gym, I
Waiting.
probably won't be able to hear you.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
was there on
Hear the
Friday night,
question.
and you and I had that conversation on Friday night. Next slide, please. And thank you, Mr. Giannessi, for all your wisdom on that. That's 10 out of 10. So again, board, I thank you for this opportunity to share with you where we are currently with this work, but also we know that we still have a few things to do to land the plane, so to speak. Again, identifying a concrete schedule is going to drive a lot of the work, but also some other recommendations that I will come to you regarding staffing, regarding some things for facility uses that over the next few weeks you'll see in your board packets, and you'll also see in my board notes. But again, this is a good opportunity for us to really highlight our community. I think galvanizing for a change that they've been asking for a very long time, but also having people here who have tons of expertise and wisdom in this area to show that not only are we capable, but we're going to deliver this with excellence. So with that, I will turn it over to the board for any last questions that you may have.
Seeing no questions, thank you everybody for the presentation tonight. They were very informative. I think the community will feel the same way. I feel we're in good hands, and I don't want to say we're ahead of schedule, but I think surprisingly we're right on schedule, and I think we'll be able to meet these goals. So thank you. And with that said, I will call the adjourn the work session and take a brief 5-minute break before our board meeting.
No, it's Christmas spirit, Ann. It's Christmas spirit.
Kind of thought my cat was here. All right, thank you for coming out tonight. This is now our December 10th Elkhart Community Schools Board meeting. I call that to order. If you'd please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's like, I never knew anybody.
Mr. Blyler, the Elkhart Promise.
The Elkhart Promise. Every student is known by name, challenged and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community will graduate career college ready and life ready.
Thank you very much. Our invitation to speak protocol. Everybody should have received one of these on your seat. If you'd like to speak, please fill it out and give it to Dora. At that time, when we get to the public comment section of the agenda, please step to the mic, state your name and your affiliation to the school district. You'll have 3 minutes at that point. Please no names of personnel if it's a personnel issue or students. This is not the proper format for those types of discussions. So with that said, Dora, do we have any public comment? Thank you. We have one. Angela Whitlow.
Good evening. First, I'd like to say great job on the 6th grade transition stuff. Like, that's huge. When Dr. Huff mentioned that it was going to be fast and in 1 year, I was like, yeah, okay. But you guys are doing a great job. So that was off topic, but sorry. So I wanted to bring up tonight the public board packet. So like tonight, some things are missing. I've been looking at the packets for like 10 years or so. And so like tonight, recommendation for award, the contract for fuel, and the contract for food services supplies. Usually that's listed, and there's a sheet in there that's listed with, what bidding you guys have found, the dollar amounts. It's not in there. I looked last year, it was in last year's, so I wasn't crazy that I was just seeing stuff. So I'm not understanding why that stuff is not in the public board packet for the community to look at. As somebody who likes to look at that stuff, I know that's unique. Not everybody does. I know some staff members look at that. I know a few community members that look at that. Also, like going back, I went back just a little bit. The 2025 budget adoption, that stuff wasn't listed in there. There's file numbers. So I'm not sure if you guys expect us as community members to reach out to the school district and get a more detailed sheet, which I can do. Simple email. You guys have always usually provided, and I haven't had problems. I'm just wondering why some of that stuff isn't in there. Some other things that I was seeing that wasn't in there, the food service RFP, the Lexia Learning Systems Agreement. So when you guys talk about these things, you're not putting them in the packets for the community to look at. I'm assuming it's in your guys' packets. Also, summaries haven't been updated. I can understand why, because they're in the board packets the following week, but sometimes that's not, 2 weeks so you can look at the summary. I know we record, those aren't accessible on the website. It's real easy to go to like Facebook and find that stuff. I'm just some things. But the board packets, the missing information is kind of alarming for me. So if I could get some info on that after or email to me, that would be great, of maybe why. Thank you.
All right, that was the only one. All right, Counselor of the Year.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, community. Tonight, I have the extreme privilege to help recognize Tim Adams, who's been recognized as a Counselor of the Year for the state of Indiana. Tim is an outstanding advocate for all children over at Pure Moran, and he makes kids not only feel safe and comfortable at school, but also helps to make sure that they're learning and everything that we want in an educator that they get to witness every single day. Tim is he's a bright light for Elkhart Community Schools. This is an outstanding honor to have in the state of Indiana. We have this right here. So as we talk about the middle school transition, we can actually say we have the best of the best here in Elkhart Community Schools. And so at this time, I would love to bring up Mr. Adams to share a little bit about his journey, about his dream of being a Counselor of the Year. And he's going to keep it concise, aren't you, Mr. Adams? No.
I will not take a whole lot of your time, trust me. I am very honored to be recognized as the Indiana School Counselor of the Year. It is something that I had put on my bucket list when I was hired by Cindy Bonner 7 years ago. And I never really thought anything like this would actually come to fruition, but it did. And I'm very blessed to be a representative for Elkhart Community Schools. There's no place I would rather be. I said from the get-go, I don't really take a whole lot of recognition for this award. I always kind of say it's a we award, not a me award. And I truly mean that. If it's not our teachers and our administrators, our district leaders, the other staff at Pure Moran, along with our parents, my amazing students, and our community partners, none of this is really possible because I believe in a philosophy of connectivity, and having that connected network of support is so critical in the role that we play in helping our students succeed. So I don't necessarily take personal ownership of this award, but this is an award for Elkhart Community Schools, and I'm very thankful to have received it. And I'm very honored for that. And I look forward to representing not just the state of Indiana, but Elkhart Community Schools as I compete for National School Counselor of the Year in early 2027. So thank you.
Tim, I would like to shake your hand if it's possible, but. And good luck on your opportunity to win.
I want to add a comment about.
Mr. Adams?
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I serve on a committee for the counseling department, and I just want to commend Tim and his team. They do a phenomenal job. I think we meet maybe once a quarter, and they always have lots of data for us to look at, metrics, a detailed plan of how they're supporting students' social and emotional needs, as well as lots of activities they do to promote the work that they do in his department. So I just want to say thank you for all you do, and it's been a pleasure working with you and your team.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're a part of our team. All right.
Thank you. Next, we have the Excellence of Elkhart. Aaron?
All right. Thank you again, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, and the community. By way of academics, last week at Hawthorne Early Learning Center, students enjoyed reading Brown Bear, What Do You See? If you look at the picture on the top right, many of the students excitedly pointed to their teacher's page saying, "Mrs. Sproul, it's you." They loved reciting the story by heart during book buddy time and building their love of reading through their early through their early literacy skills. Last week, second-year culinary and hospitality students participated in a Bake Wars competition, creating cookies, muffins, and pies with unique ingredients like habanero cheese, rosemary, and pomegranate. Meanwhile, the second-year cosmetology students provided facials, makeup, and haircuts to clients, gaining valuable hands-on experience. And both programs are just a few of the programs that we have that prepare our students for future success through practical real-world application. For Thanksgiving, Woodland Elementary students got into the holiday spirit by giving back to their community. The Student Council took a field trip to Church Community Services to donate 1,265 items, totaling 1,200 pounds, collected during their annual food drive. While there, the council members also learned about local community resources and helped pack items for donation, making a meaningful impact for the holiday season. And we had 7 of our elementary schools that hosted box out bullying assemblies, focusing on building character and fostering kindness. Through engaging performances, students learned important lessons about respect, empathy, and how to stand up against bullying. The assemblies are a valuable part of creating a positive and supportive school community. And some of you, as you can see in the pictures, some of you were able to participate in the Elkhart Freshman Division health classes as they presented their final projects, showcasing their knowledge and creativity. And we just want to extend our thanks to the board members and also the community members and partners who gave their valuable feedback and helped the students grow in the process of their learning. For arts, we had 4 of our Elkhart High School brass players join the Elkhart Municipal Band for their annual tuba Christmas performance. And we also had musicians sponsored by the Fish Off organization who toured our schools, including Woodland and Roosevelt's team. And they performed music literature mashups based on a book called Miss Nelson is Missing. WNIT also did a story on this if you want in the off time to be able to go and look more in depth about what this program is. The students at Roosevelt also had the opportunity to attend the world premiere of Lineage, which is the percussion of Fish Off's 2024 and Divine Educator Award winner. And they did that at night with their families. They got to do interactive jam sessions, performances, and have an engaging time with families and music. Oops, I forgot. I forgot to advance the slide for that one. All right. Congratulations to Britlin Oliva on the euphonium and from Elkhart High School, and Keithan Box on clarinet from Northside Middle School for being selected to the prestigious honor of the Indiana Junior All-State Band. And athletics, our winter sports season has officially begun. Girls basketball, boys and girls swimming, and wrestling are off to a really strong start with multiple wins. And we're excited to see how the upcoming season goes and track their progress. Future happenings, we've got middle school orchestras happening tomorrow. We've got a couple of athletic events and Christmas break coming up. That is all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin. Next on the agenda, we have the consent items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any discussion or comments from the board?
Okay, here we go. With $8,073.87, we have 5 donations from our community. NIPCO donated $1,000 to our Science Olympiad. And then the Elkhart Athletic Coalition, our group, our athletic club, Elkhart Athletic Club donated $500 to grow our baseball team. Competitive Edge Sports and Spine Clinic donated $700 also to our Elkhart Athletics. Okay, so Culver's is actually individually owned, and our particular Culver's here in Elkhart is Andrew Habik, and he is phenomenal with donating to the community. He gave us $759 to our FFA, which is our Future Farmers of America, which key in, we are one of the largest future farmers of America in the state of Indiana. He did that with just like small canister donations. If you go into Culver's, they're right there. And then Scoop of Thanks, which is part of their like little ice cream program. So that's a lot of money for just that small little donation can. And then Industrial Finishes, which has been around Elkhart forever, they donated multiple items, which are like sandpapers, compound polishes, different type of grinding wheels that work amazing for our automotive departments. Like you can think of like lens of like clear coats or different things that help with that. And that was like $5,114.87 worth of materials just donated to our automotive department. So that's pretty cool that they get their hands on all of that. And that totaled, again, like I said, $8,073.87 just with 5 community member donations. There you go.
Thank you, Kelly. Any other further discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's going to be one of those nights. Consent items aren't getting through. Opposed?
We'll see.
The ayes have it.
Something like
Motion carries. Mr. Giannessi, good luck. New business, recommendation for award.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, and members of the community. Tonight, the business office recommends award of a contract for fuel for the 2025 calendar year.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions or comments for Mr. Giannessi?
How's that compared to the prior year?
It is approximately $130,000 less than last year's bid. Yes. Keystone is the former Series, which is the former Country Mark. They've been our vendor since 2016.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Next, we have recommendation for award the business office. This is a contract with Core Construction. Mr.
Excuse
Giannessi.
me, President Scott, you skipped one.
Oh, did I?
Service.
I'm sorry.
Service.
Food service.
Tonight-
Supplies.
Tonight, the business office recommends award of a contract for food service supplies through July 31st, 2025.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions regarding this award? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now, we'll get to where I was before.
The business office recommends award of a contract in the amount of $1,447,316 to Core Construction of Indiana for the addition and renovation to the Elkhart Area Career Center's construction trades building.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments regarding this award? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Inman's sale of iPads.
President Scott, Dr. Huff, board members, good evening. The business office seeks board approval for the bulk sale of iPads having reached the end of their useful life cycle.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Thorne. We have Board Policy 3142, non-renewal of administrative contracts.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the Board of School Trustees, Dr. Huff. This evening, the administration is presenting for your initial consideration a proposed revision to this policy which governs the timing of preliminary notifications to certain administrators regarding the board's consideration of non-renewals of contracts for principals, assistant principals, and assistant superintendents. The proposed revisions align the notification timelines with the ones that are established by state law.
I make a motion that we waive second reading.
Second that.
I have a motion to waive second reading in a second. Do I have any questions or comments regarding this board policy? Hearing or seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have Board Policy 3362.01 ACS, threatening or intimidating behavior towards staff members.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Tonight, the administration is presenting for your initial consideration proposed revisions to this policy. These revisions incorporate the statutory procedures that the school district is required to comply with when a school employee is subject to threatening or intimidating comments or behavior. Under state law, the district is obligated to report such conduct to law enforcement, and this evening we are seeking bringing this to you for preliminary consideration. Happy to answer any questions board members might have related to the policy.
Mr. Thorne, do we have any questions regarding this policy? Hearing or seeing none, we'll move on to Board Policy 8452, automated external defibrillators.
Thank you again. This evening, the administration is recommending a complete rewrite of the school corporation's policy regarding the use and deployment of automated external defibrillators, AEDs. The proposed policy firmly establishes training requirements for specific district employees, including head coaches, assistant coaches of athletic activities, and marching band directors, and also very clearly lays out expectations regarding usage, regarding training and maintenance of the AEDs. Again, this is brought to you for preliminary consideration this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any questions regarding this policy?
Yeah, I do. Doug, I think we have a duplicated paragraph. The second paragraph after F starts each head coach or assistant coach. I think that's the same.
That's
the same paragraph as the one right after it.
That's correct. Thank you for catching that, Mrs. Vondervellen. You get an A for proofing tonight.
You know who would be proud of her?
Oh,
you know who would be proud of her, Mrs. Morrison.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrison.
If only, yeah.
If only Carolyn was
Carolyn
here.
and Doris Ann both would have
Oh,
been
yeah,
proud of her.
Doris Ann, yes.
Edge? Any other questions? Okay, we can move on to Board Policy 8455.
Finally, the administration is recommending proposed revisions to this policy governing training requirements for employees in positions related to concussion awareness, health-related medical conditions, and sudden cardiac arrest. The positions covered under this policy include, but are not limited to, head coaches, assistant coaches of athletic activities, cheerleading coaches, marching band directors, JROTC instructors, drama or musical directors, and sponsors of extracurricular activities in which students might face an increased risk of sudden cardiac arrest, health-related medical conditions, or concussions. Additionally, the revised policy outlines expectations related to the hiring of coaches for Indiana High School Athletic Association, IHSAA recognized sports, including the requirement to verify whether a coach is accredited by the IHSAA, whether the accreditation for that coach or a coach has been suspended or revoked, and also a requirement to obtain references for coaches. The policy also establishes an obligation to notify the IHSAA if a coach accredited by the IHSAA is convicted under certain offenses outlined by Indiana law.
Thank you. Do we have any questions regarding this board policy? Thank you, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. We'll be back with those three policies next week.
Thank you very much. Dr. Huff.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board. I had a really good opportunity to last Saturday visit the Magical Dinner Theater over at the high school at the 47th annual. Let me make sure that I say that. It was outstanding. Those kids are majorly talented. I saw kids who were in that performance, who I saw on tennis teams, who I saw in our student advisory committee, who I've seen playing instrument, just well-rounded, great young people. And I had an opportunity to participate in the event as well. It was a great 2 hours. If you ever have a chance to go there, please do so. But I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Reinhardt and to Mrs. Oppenheim for that great program last Saturday. Today, the IDOE also recognized another one of our staff members. Some of you may know this individual, Kathy Enfield, as the 2024 RISE recipient for the state of Indiana. That is, I mean, she's the classified person of the year in the state of Indiana, and she will represent our state on the national level. If you go into West Side, you know it was a surprise, by the way. So, she is very humble in and about her business. I called her today and she just was ready to go back to business. Dr. Roush, if I can't find her, she's here somewhere. She's out there doing it. Had a chance to be there to celebrate with Mrs. Enfield, and she's wonderful. Again, this is not only a testament to her outstanding commitment to the school, but her leadership, but also they honored just the added value to how she greets our kids, and most importantly, makes kids feel very safe, welcomed at Westside. Huge that our community has these resources again at our middle school level. So when I say that we are transitioning our students into not just wonderful environment, but with wonderful people. Again, she'll be representing our state and at the national level. So when you see her, she was very proud. Please give Mrs. Enfield a huge round of applause. Also, I had the opportunity to speak at the high school last week to Mrs. Stein's classroom, future educators, 16 potential educators, and I hope that they all 16 stay in education. They asked outstanding questions, and one of the funny things are, if I had to do it all over again, would you choose education? Yes, I would choose education. But these,
You didn't have to pause that long.
I pause because the kids pause when they ask me. I think anytime that you have an opportunity to champion education to kids who want to do the things that you have done, you should not only not pause, you should lean in and celebrate. And so those kids asked some really insightful questions about how do you come up with certain policies, and if we are very nice to you for this hour and 30-minute period, will you change the cell phone policy? No, I will not be doing any of this. But they ask how do you come up with those things, and what is the role of the superintendent? And if I work in Elkhart Community Schools, how can I make a difference? Engage the mind early so they can. The best place to recruit kids are here who want to be educators. So again, I will speak to those kids and any person who wants to be an educator in our community to say that Elkhart is the best place to be. Thank you, Mrs. Stein, for that opportunity to speak to your class. I also want to, again, each week, I'm going to always talk about attendance in our school district, because we know in order to be in the game, you got to show up. And this week, the school that they had, I guess, friendly competitions at elementary school, and Pinewood had a 99.04 attendance rate for the week. So hats off to them. I'm sorry. Oh, I was okay. They had a 99.04 attendance rate for the week, outstanding. But there were 3 other schools that had over 98% as well: Beardsley, Mary Beck, and Bristol. So hats off to them. And then also we saw increases at almost all other levels as well. We are going to beat that 95% attendance average for the school year. I do want to give a huge shout out to Mrs. Brander and her team for tracking this. One other thing that she also pointed out, that there are some other of our sister school districts that haven't uploaded their attendance information inside the IDOE like Elkhart has. And so we will make those sure that they remain nameless, because I told them we don't shame our friends. So one of the things, so one of the things that we are very proud of that. No, but I also want to drill down to that data a little bit. We also should honor all the kids who come to school every day. There's one grade level inside of Elkhart Community Schools that all the kids came to school in that particular grade level. And that was the sixth grade students at Pinewood as well. 100% of them came to school last week. And those are very large classes at the sixth grade level. So good job to Pinewood. The Pinewood Panthers. We're very proud of you. I hope that your friendly competition with Bristol, that you're rewarded, whatever your reward is. And so again, if you, principals, look at your numbers and then make sure that we just get a little bit better next week. So again, Mr. Scott, I feel that we are doing a lot of great things in Elkhart Community Schools. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I will make one comment. The students that were thinking about going into education, the way they try to negotiate the cell phone policy, they may want to consider law. I don't know.
He does understand that it is our job to recruit teachers, to create, and not just recruit. We have to create teacher. Guess who's not coming to save us? No one. So if we don't create teachers, they're not coming. So let's make sure that we are getting those lawyers into the classroom in front of our kids. And so if we want to make that an option, sure. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they get in front of our kids.
Very good.
Mr. Scott, I don't know why you did that to me, but that's fine.
Always looking for good young leaders.
I do have a comment here. If you're going to let us talk. Good. Well, you had your hand on that thing. I was like, you're getting kind of nervous. Anyhow, I agree with Miss Brander. Sometimes you just have to go to the large print here a little bit. Anyhow, this happened over Thanksgiving at the Georgia Tech Georgia game. And we're sitting there on the couch, and my daughter-in-law, this pops up on her feed, and this went into Georgia. And it's a kid from Northside, a young man by the name of Jacob Evans. Now, this kid's, we talk about marketing around here. This guy's into direct marketing. Hello, Georgia football. My name is Jacob Evans. I'm 13 and live in Elkhart, Indiana, and I go to Northside Middle School. I am a running and defensive back. My plan is to work hard, which I do, and go to high school, go crazy freshman year, go crazy sophomore year, go crazy junior year, go crazy senior year, get them offers. But of course, I'm a commit to Georgia because I love y'all. And I see a future with me in the NFL because of Georgia and the future with Georgia. And just keep working and keep going crazy. And I hope you get my message. Now, I tell you what, there's a kid that knows how to market himself. You know, he's got a great start at it. And I know there's probably another 1,000 or so kids out there that can do the exact same thing. You know, they're not shy. They go to reach out and they say, hey, I want this. And they're going to plan for it. And I hope our athletic directors know this kid. Jacob Evans. Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
I have something. I had the opportunity to visit the freshman division today in the culinary arts department. They had like a food truck program. It was part of their final grade. I saw quite a few other administrators there and community leaders. So they created a menu, designed a food truck. They all made something from scratch-ish, and there some stuff was good. Some students had a little bit of work to do, but it was fun to see the turnout and how excited they were. Not only kind of building business skills, but building just regular life skills, learning how to cook and clean and be sanitary and all those things. So it was a fun time at the freshman division today.
On Saturday, I got the privilege of participating with the Elkhart Police Department with their annual Family Lunch with Santa. This is a collaboration event that we do on an annual basis between Elkhart Community Schools and the Juvenile Detectives Bureau. I'll let you all sit there and wonder in what capacity I got to participate there. But it was a fantastic event. This was the first event that we had participation from every one of our elementary schools nominated a family in need to come out. The families were allowed to bring up to 4 children. All of the children got gifts, and the families got gifts as well. The community supported the event with over $10,000 in donations. In addition to the kids getting toys and pizza and a wonderful salad and games and songs and Christmas cookies. The families were each awarded with over $150 in gift cards and a family gift as well. So I would just like to shout out to Dr. Huff, to Barb Kripe for helping to encourage participation this year, and to all of our principals and counselors at the elementary level for making that a very special day for many of the families. One additional announcement, it's with a heavy heart that I need to announce that today I have turned in my resignation for my board seat. My wife, Sarah, and I have several businesses, and the demands of the businesses have come to the point where it's come in conflict with the amount of time that I'm able to devote to our board seat. This wasn't a decision that we came to on an easy basis. It's something we've put a lot of consideration and contemplation into. But the good news is I've spoken with individuals who have interest in succeeding me in this seat. We have some extremely qualified candidates who will surpass any ability that I ever brought here. So I am very comfortable that I am leaving you all in some very good hands. And I thank you all for the opportunities, for the friendships, and for the new direction that we've been able to move ECS in the last 2 years. So Dr. Huff, thank you for being a big part of that. And thank you to my fellow board members and all of you. Thank you.
Else? Meeting adjourned.